Hello mga Kakasyo Nation, I am Engineer JD, and in this video, we will discuss about the ShipSolve utility of the Casio FX991MS 2nd edition. Let's get started. ShipSolve utility is, I think, the most important feature of any calculator because especially in engineering applications, solving equations are very common. So ShipSolve is like a valuable tool for us. ShipSolve can be accessed using the key sequence, shift, and then calc, and is doable in comp mode. Now let's have an example how to use ShipSolve. So let's have this one in fluid mechanics. Using the principles of fluid mechanics, it is found that the discharge Q in the pipe satisfies the equation shown in the screen. Now we are to use the ShipSolve utility to find the discharge Q. In this case, Q is expressed in meters cubed per second. Now to do that in comp mode, we just need to enter the equation and then do the ShipSolve key sequence. So first, let's input the equation, which is this one. So let's have 48 plus 3. Take note that FX991MS is a single line input. So in this case, make use of multiplication and division operators as many times as you can and as you wish to make things clear. So times 0.8 divided by 9.81 Q, okay, divided by Q. So take note what we have done here. Although because 9.81 and Q are both in the denominator, they are both divided. Hence the division symbols in both 9.81 and Q. So we have alpha and then X for Q, and then equals alpha and then calc, and then 73 plus quantity 1 plus 50, and then times 0.0826, then x squared. So alpha close parenthesis x squared, and then divided by 0.4 and then raised to 4. So that is the equation. Next step is to input ShipCalc or ShipSolve. Shift and then calc. And then we are now asked to find the guess value. So that's the command. We are now asked to input our guess value. In this case, let's assume that the guess value for Q is 0.01. So let's input that 0.01, and then let's press equals. So now it's stored in X. Then we press shift and then calc. Shift and then calc. And then you will get the result, which is 9.77,977,5895 times 10 to the minus 3, and the units is in cubic meters per second. And that is the final answer for this problem. So that's how easy using ShipSolve is. Input the equation, shift, calc, and then input the guess value, press equals, and then again shift calc, you get one of the roots of the equation. And just so you know, ShipSolve, as with other calculators, uses a modified version of the Newton-Raphson procedure. So it's a numerical approximation that allows us to calculate numerically one by one the roots of the equation, any equation that you want. Now, let's have another example of how ShipSolve is used. So let's have this problem. For what value of A is ax squared minus 20x plus 4 a perfect square trinomial? So this is an algebra problem, and we can determine the value of A by remembering the concept in algebra, which is that if ax squared plus bx plus c, so which is a trinomial, is a perfect square trinomial, then the discriminant, which is b squared minus 4ac, should be equal to 0. That's the key equation for that. And a, b, and c are real numbers and can be obtained from the given trinomial. For this example, let's have this ax squared minus 20x plus 4. Now let's extract the variable a. Now in this case, the variable a is unknown, so this is what we want to find. And then variable b is given, that is negative 20, or the coefficient of x. And then variable c is given as well, so that is the constant term, which is 4. So the unknown is the leading coefficient of x squared, which is A. Now, we can plug in this given into the b squared minus 4ac equals 0 equation and then solve for the variable A. So, we can do that using shift solve. So, first, let us store the values of B and C. B is negative 20. So, negative 20. And then, let's store that to variable B. So, that is shift and then RCL. So, to store. And then, this degree, minute, second key. And so, notice that there is a variable B written above that. So, let's press that. Now, it is stored to variable B. Next is the variable C. So, which contains 4. 4. And then, shift RCL. So, to store. And then, hype key. So, there is a variable C above it. So, C. So, now, to negative 20 and 4 are stored in variables B and C respectively. So, now, we can now input the equation B squared minus 4AC equals 0. So, let's have alpha and then B and then squared minus 4 alpha and then A and then alpha and then C and then alpha and then calc for the equal sign and then 0. Sir, there is no equal 0 in the screen, but in your input there is. So please watch the previous video about tips for faster calculation because it is stated there that you can remove it equals 0 if it's equals 0. So it's automatically recognized by the calculator. But for the purposes of this video, I explicitly included equals 0 so that we know it is an equation. But you can remove that equals 0. There's no problem there. Also, notice that from that video on faster calculations, you can also rewrite the equation to solve A and then just input the expression. That's also allowed. But for the purpose of using the shift solve, presenting it to you, then I'll show it here. So, we have inputted the equation and then let us now press shift solve. So, shift calc. So, now, the calculator will ask the values of each variable in the equation in the order in which they occurred in the equation. So, in our case, take note that the equation is b squared minus 4ac equals 0. So, naturally, based on the order in which they appeared, variable b will be asked first. So, that's why it's b. That's being asked there. And then, followed by the variable a. So, that's the next. And then, the variable c, which is the third one. Now, variable b is already stored in the calculator. It now has the value of negative 20 as shown here in the screen. Now, let us now press equals. So, there's nothing to be done there. So, let's press equals. Next, we will now be asked for the value of a. So, which is the unknown variable in the equation. So, to solve that, let us now use the shift solve one more time. So, shift and then calc, you will get the value of a, which is 25. And that is the final answer to this problem. So, the polynomial or the trinomial that we need is 25x squared minus 20x plus 4. And we can verify this manually because this one is factorable as the quantity of 5x minus 2 quantity squared. Now, some notes when using multiple variables in shift solve. So first, notice that the calculator will ask for the value of each variable in the order in which they are given. So in this case, it's variable b first, and then a, and then c. Second, you need to store first the values of the variables because in our case for this example, because a is the variable that we want and we immediately shift solve it, then there is no opportunity for the calculator to ask for the variable of c. So if you didn't assign a value to it beforehand, then c will be given a 0 value. So that will be a wrong. So you need to store them first, just like what we did here. So we stored variables b and c first before we construct the equation. So that's the key. And that's it for solving equations using shift solve in single equation, single variable, and single equation, multiple variables. That's all for today, mga Kakasyo Nation, and see you in the next video.